I had to turn the phone on with my nose, which didn't work, so I had to take my glove off and put it back on again before my hands freeze to death. What's up, guys? Streaming here, welcome back to another video. So, luckily it's a Monday, so I have the park relatively quiet to myself, and it is snowing. I hope this cable is not in the way. And today, I went on a weird rabbit hole today, like train of thought, and it reminded me back to when I was a lot younger and I was really into philosophy, and I basically found out that, well, many years ago, right, I remember the fact that Arabs invented zero, and that the Christians didn't like it, so they like tried to ban zero. It's like you tried to ban nothing. You've accomplished nothing. Imagine that on like the newspapers, ban zero. It also reminded me of back in my more burning my head to the ground with philosophical debate days, amount of time I wasted asking stupid questions, like, you know, is there any such a thing as zero? Can you experience zero or nothing? And it's like meaningless questions that sound nice, but actually it's just exemplifying the limits of human verbal interaction and how words really don't convey reality, but we think they do. So we can ask silly questions like, is it possible to be alive before you were born, and actually sit and think about it? I mean, minus the whole reincarnation hypothesis thingy. Anyway, what's up, guys? Freeman here, welcome back to another video. I might well go back down the whole philosophy route. I did tinker with those few videos beforehand, and they actually got a pretty good response. This is back when I was trying to combine health and NoFap into one channel, which really didn't work out because I had people commenting on like either side topics asking. And today is one of the few days where it's actually different, other than the dull, grey, shitty, muddy, rainy, depressing, cigarette-filled London that it usually is. And it reminded me of how much I actually really do like the seasons, and how some places you always fantasize about moving to a place that's more sunny or more your ideal weather until you go there and you stay there for like a year and you're like, okay, I'm tired of like 6 feet of snow, or I'm tired of like literally being able to fry an egg on like a rock outside at like 3 in the morning, and it's and you just kind of get a bit tired of it. But today I wanted to talk a bit about the grind and the rat race and the freaking crap and that most people have had to endure, and how it's a trap, it's a scam, and anyone who tries to convince you otherwise is either ignorant or a slave. Now, disclaimer, if you enjoy your 9-to-5 job, fair enough, enjoy it, that's your life. But unfortunately, the vast majority of people do it as a means to an end. And what I've noticed is that there's almost a this isn't a word, but I'm gonna make it a word until I can figure out the actual word for it. A fetishization, an obsession with work, and with basically saying, oh, I work 12 hours, oh, I work 14, oh, I pulled 80-hour work weeks, and this, that, and the other. And combined with all these success gurus that are like, oh, you need to grind 80 hours a week to be successful, and this, that, and the other. And I really do believe that people have lost sight of what real work, what productive work, what enjoyable work is. And even the word work, it's used in such a wrong context now that there are people like, for example, me, who hated the word. I hated the word work, the word work. And it was only until I grew up that I realized that actually work had nothing to do with doing things that you didn't like doing, even though everyone tried to convince you that it was, and that actually you can combine work and play into a synergistic relationship whereby you can do things that you love doing, and you love doing them so much that you don't want to stop doing them, and like 40 hours later you're still doing the same thing. You're still drawing, you're still painting, you're still vlogging, you're still whatever, you're still enjoying what you're doing, even lumberjacking, because you love it. That's a weird word, because you love doing it. And you love it so much that it doesn't involve work. Now, the work that we have today is basically slavery. And many people will disagree with this until they actually open up a history book, I'm not going to swear too much, and realize that most people really didn't have to work as hard as they are right now. I did mention in my previous video, one of the turning points of that was the feminist movement, where you have double the amount of people working for half the amount of labor. And even before that, you actually look at it, people used to work a lot less And even going back to hunter-gatherer societies, the numbers would go down to like, on average, they'd work for like 12 hours in a week. And that would be like hunting or building or whatever. Although sometimes building wasn't really considered work because it was like, well, we're here and we have nothing else to do. But they were working for like a fraction of the amount that we are now. And there's a weird paradox when you think about it, because life, what I find, is that it's divided between people who, well, no, screw that analogy. Life, I find, it's a lot. I often see that it's rare a person who can actually pull out the roots of what's at the bottom of our social, economic, and psychological understanding of ourselves and of the world and of other things, and point out certain paradoxes that if you follow down deep enough will actually show you a glaring contradiction that really should be the beginning of an inquiry. It should be the beginning of saying, hey, maybe what I know is not real. And one of those things is something I realized ages ago, and that is, why is it that if technology has gone so far, if we've achieved so much, if I'm meant to be so proud that Nikola Tesla can send a car to the moon, why the hell are we working so hard? And by work, I mean the doing things that you don't like for long periods of time. Because looking at all the different sci-fi novels and sci-fi, like Cyberpunk 2070, it's not an original title, by the way. There was this idea that after a while, in the 2000s, or even later than that, we'd be living a life of luxury. Everyone would have an amazing standard of living. We wouldn't have to sweat it out in the mines. We could have robots do it for us, and we would live in a kind of harmony, unless you were looking at more of the dark sci-fi plots like 1984 or Brave New World. And it's just very, very strange how that future hasn't arrived for us. It's like freaking hoverboards, you know, hoverboards in freaking Back to the Future. I can't remember what year it was because I haven't watched it in ages. But like, where the hell is my hoverboard? Basically, where's my red fire streaked hoverboard sponsored by Coca-Cola? It's like none of that is here yet. But instead, what do we see? We see more or less the same jobs as we've seen for the past 100 years. People are still driving trucks and cars. People are still cooking. People are still cleaning. People are still doing all the things that they've already done. But they're doing it more. And despite the invention of vacuum cleaners and like super sophisticated ovens, and this isn't a sexist thing, just in general. Oh, and muzzles and aprons and the invention of all that, we're still working 12-hour days, some people, just to get by. And there's a financial aspect to that as well. There's the whole, increasing in housing, increasing in this and increasing in that. But what you really saw was, especially in America, post-Second World War was the golden years, was a kind of a utopia. And you'll find that in most civilizations, the golden years usually last about anywhere between 10 years to 150, and then all of a sudden the society declines. But people's standard of living was amazing. It was comparatively amazing. One man could work and settle and house a family of 5. Although the economy was broken down, the policies that were enacted really did make it so that you could, like no other time in history, including now, make something, like make a name for yourself. You could actually take care of yourself. You could actually go places with nowhere near the amount of effort that is required now. So why is this? I have my own theories as to why this is, and that would require a kind of tinfoil hat. But basically, what it means is that after they saw the elite, after the elite saw that the middle class and the middleman were getting too much power, they orchestrated things like the feminist movement. They orchestrated things like I'm actually always conscious if people. This is one of those moments where I sort of think to myself, if I ever get popular on YouTube and people will come back and look at this video, and they'll be like, he believes that the feminist movement was a conspiracy by the elite to keep people down. Like, how would I deal with that? Would I just be like, yeah? Or would I just like point out the research? Because everything that you say ultimately defines where you can go in the future and who you can know if you decide to make a platform for yourself, or even if you decide to get a certain job. But I don't plan on working for a big fucking lefty corporations, so I think I should be fine. But anyway, um, I don't believe that there is any sort of real economic reason why, as in organic economic reason, as to why we have to work so hard as we are right now. I do believe that there was an effort to get people back into the 9 to 5 rat race. It's like, who the hell invented 9 to 5 anyway? Like, it's a fabrication. We've just sort of gotten used to the fact that the average work day is 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and you have 2 days for yourself. One of those days is just spent just like de-stressing from 5 days of crappy work, and then one of those days is busy sorting out all the things you couldn't do because you were too busy working, and then you start again. Who invented that? Who agreed to that? Because I'm pretty sure that if you pitch that at a board meeting before 9 to 5, everyone would be like, why would we do this? We were getting on fine without 9 to 5, and yes, people did used to work hours way longer than 9 to 5. But what we're seeing now is that, again, with the doubling of the workforce and the halving of and people getting half as much, it's like now you have 2 people working 9 to 5, and it's getting more and more stressful and more difficult. And it's like, why hasn't technology gotten us out of this? Now, I personally, I don't hate my job, but I do think that if I could turn back the clock, I would have started the whole get this nonsense of getting a degree and getting a course and working a 9 to 5 out your head, and just start doing something creative that you love. Because I had loads of talents that I was doing from an early age that that could have lifted me out of the need to get a 9 to 5 job. But I didn't pursue them because I was brainwashed to think, just like many other people are brainwashed. Hang on, let me check the time. 11 minutes. Just as many other people are brainwashed to believe that if you get a 9 to 5 job, that is somehow ideal. And, oh, that is a beautiful icicle. That's huge as well. Oh, I have no idea you can see it. No, there's no way. The camera's not that good. It's like picturesque, and it's huge. Huge. What accent is that? But anyway, I was brainwashed to believe that the 9 to 5 work life was somehow admirable, was somehow to strive for. And there was always an immense sense of pride that I got from my family whenever I would come home from a day of like, he's tired from work. That's so great. And it was only later I realized that, like, why the hell would anyone want to subject anyone, if it's not necessary, to that kind of a lifestyle? Like, I know that some people have to do that because they're fresh off the boat immigrants and there's nothing else that they could do because they don't know the culture, they don't know how it works. So the best thing to do is just get a job packing groceries or something, just to get some money on the table. And this is where I kind of, border the line of sounding privileged or whatever. But it's like, because I do believe that privilege is a thing and not just the way that social justice warriors have twisted it. But the way I look at it is that if you have the ability to capitalize on a talent, you should be given the amount of time, working space to be able to build that talent, instead of being forced to fill all of your time with meaningless work just so that you can save up money. Because that was what it was for me. After I turned 18, it was like, well, you're not going to university, so you have to work and save. You have to work and save, work and save. That was the main thing. Don't figure out what you want to do in life. It was almost like figuring out what you wanted to do was just like an afterthought. So in those 2 days you have to relax, figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. By the way, work and save, work and save, work and save. And again, if you have to do it, that's absolutely fine. But when you're living with your parents at a very young age, I find that most parents don't have the mental wherewithal to be able to cultivate one's independent sense of spirit. And again, I think this comes from the difference between generations, whereby they were taught to be batteries, basically, whereby your creative talents really come from, just going to the factory and sort of coming back, and that was your pride, and you shouldn't really rise above that. There was no idea of rising above that. There was no, like, okay, you should have swapped. It was said that you should aspire to be something more, but there were no mechanisms to be able to understand and unlock that potential, simply because they never had it themselves. And so you find that a lot of the people who sort of start businesses and sort of become successful, it's sort of talked about as a combination of like, well, it was just he worked hard, but he worked hard at something that he was lucky to find. And it's like, that's not really great inspiration. And so we have succeeding generations, basically thinking that the 9 to 5 work life and working stupidly hard for a measly paycheck is kind of the way to go. And that, yeah, you should kind of struggle, you should try to kind of strive for something more, but we don't really know how to tell you because we're all but a bunch of slaves ourselves. You know what I mean? And when I become a dad, I really don't think You know, I've always thought to myself that if my son or daughter is working on something for themselves that has great potential for them, I am not going to force them to get a job. But if you're lounging around and you're not doing anything and you're playing video games, you get a job and you pay me. You get a job and you pay me because I am not putting you up for free board and lodging. And if you want to leave at 18, please do. Please do, because you need that experience. You need to know what it's like out there. Now I got the different treatment. It was you can't survive on your own kind of a treatment, and you need us because, you know, keep your family close and your victims closer, kind of a deal. But it's like I really don't think I've really summed up that much. But yeah, 9 to 5 work week is slavery. I am so happy that I had the kind of experiences that showed me that there is the ability to be able to make money wherever you are without having to rely on it, because without that, I really don't think I could take life. If someone told me that I had to work in a factory for the next 30 years, I'd rather kill myself, really. I'd rather kill myself than be subjected to that, you know, because, you know, work and work are not the same things. You know, passionate work and things that you believe in and sweating out in Tesco 9 to 5 aren't the same thing. And you have a choice. And the people that tell you that you don't have a choice are basically instead just telling you, I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't brave enough, I wasn't courageous enough, I was not smart enough to do anything but pack boxes. And so you should too. And don't let anyone tell you that that's your future, because all it is them whining in some pathetic way and too ashamed to face their lost potential. Anyway, that's all I'll say for today, guys. Hope I made some sense. I am freezing. Peace.